your nervous system is kind of like a container where, you've got the different wounds from your life that are filling this up. You've got, belief systems that are filling this up, all of that, plus day-to-day stuff. Okay. And so if your cup is full and you're like, I don't have a whole lot of room to process, I'm super dysregulated. If we start with the lesser of the wounds, the ones that feels like it's the smallest, that's going to give us some room back. And then we can go to the next smallest and the next smallest. And now we're getting space back to be able to process. Okay. Um,
So I can come off mute real quick, but like, so
yeah.
what's happened? Like, I had this, I guess, epiphany today that it's like it's big, and I don't my anxious attachment
Hmm.
and my normal mode of operation would
Hmm.
be for me to run to my partner and then share it all, and then I expect them to like validate and see me and hold me and all of that. And
Okay.
instead of doing that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that because he's not in a place where he can hold space for me. He is not in a place where he's in his own expansion. He's in his own grief, and it is not his job to hold me and see. It is my job to hold me and see me in this moment. So
Yeah.
I that's what I've been processing today,
Hmm.
and so I don't really necessarily know if I want to go through any other kind of like processing another wound because this is like a really big like it's like a big thing that I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, wow. And so yeah, that's all.
Yeah. And so part of this journey is realizing like some wounds are going to kind of shake you up, so to speak, more when we clear them out, right? If you've had this wound, like I'm 40, so some of like my abandonment wound I've literally had for like 4 decades of my life. And so it feels like my arm, right? It's like my abandonment wound's like my arm. And so if I get rid of my abandonment wound, it's like, oh, now I don't have an arm anymore, right? Obviously, I'm not going to physically lose my arm, but that's how my nervous system feels about it. And so there are certain wounds and certain beliefs and certain identities that when we heal them, we need a little bit longer of a gap to like process and integrate and like let our nervous system feel like, oh, okay, I'm actually still safe without, you know, this arm, so to speak, without this wound. Um, and so, if you're in this phase where you're like, I don't have my normal coping mechanism, which is running to husband, you know, emotional verbal diarrhea on him and let him validate. And I'm just going to validate me. In the all access pass, you may want to look at, let me tell you the exact step, but it might just be that case of like, I'm going to feel what I feel and allow myself to regulate. Um, yeah, and so with something like sexual trauma, you might also decide to chunk it down into like smaller portions. Um, yeah, and so that's not the right thing. Let me just find the right one for you. So in the all access pass, if you look at step number 6, the reparenting, so there's um like the whole thing. I would look at the whole step 6 and see which parts of those feel best as you're like holding yourself and hearing yourself and seeing yourself in this part of the journey. Make sense for you? Cool. Awesome. Welcome, Erin. How are you?
Hey Tiffany, I'm well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Did you say you were in Calgary or just south of Calgary?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually in Strathmore,
Okay.
so I would say east of Calgary.
Yeah.
But yeah, know Okotoks pretty well. So that's awesome. I know we were originally introduced last year through Oz,
Okay.
Facebook Messenger, but I've been kind of regulating, and yeah, I don't actually go on Facebook very often, but your posts always would hit me in the feed. So I'm like, this time I have to do this challenge. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Cool. Well, this is the first time we've ever had multiple Canadians, never mind multiple Albertans on the challenge. So that's exciting for me, especially
Oh, awesome.
down in Tennessee now. So I know we just kind of started touching on things today, but did any questions or aha moments come up for you during that session?
Tons. And I've been kind of on a 2 year recovery from some health issues like related to a brain injury. And so I'm reprogramming in a lot of way my operating systems. And I think that you identifying the wounds, the beliefs, the identities, it makes total sense to me because I used to be able to kind of get by boom and bust roller coaster in my business, but of like operating like that. But now it's not sustainable at all. So I
Hmm.
think that's probably a blessing that I know I get to work through it right now. One thing I wonder, because I see you guys have a ton of resources in school, and I'll make sure I move through that. But what you would recommend, I also, along with those beliefs and identities and non-finisher, have ADD,
Okay.
which has been extra kind of tough to manage as I navigate through this health stuff. Um, but just if there's any references that you'd recommend from your content or things to continue to consider through the week or even right now, just as I'm setting up my days, because yeah, a non-finisher, whether it's like a work block that I set up for this, or if it's a really non good physical day for me, it's just constantly, I know that that's keeping me stuck. My self-talk that I go back to. But there is like the practical application of like, I need to be able to have better resources and regulation to move through it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So uh my take on this is I don't love any diagnosis identity, right? So
Sure.
every diagnosis can become an identity. And the reason I don't like it is because ADD is ADHD also is, seen as like this negative. And for me, I'm like,
Great.
have you ever seen the X-Men?
I haven't, but I feel like you might be going in this superpower direction because I've used it as a superpower too, but maybe that's not
Yes.
where you're going.
Yeah, that's where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
Is like, if you there I can't even remember which X-Men it is, but it's like they all go to this school to learn how to hone their powers, but like
Yeah.
society is like we need to put them in this place to like protect ourselves from them, right? And the neurodivergent spectrum really is kind of has this negative connotation in society, but it's like, but what if this is a superpower of thinking differently, right? Like seeing the world differently. I see the world very, very differently to a lot of people, but that's, I can see that as, oh, well, here's the detriment in that, or I can see it as here's the power in that, right?
Yes.
So, the reason that I don't, so Sid was diagnosed, my husband was diagnosed with ADHD, right? Now, in his mind, he was like, when we first met, he was like, well, that means I'm easily distracted, I go off on tangents, I can't focus, blah, 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 blah. Well, this man is one of the most focused people I've ever met when there's a purpose or he's passionate about it, right? And I've seen that as well with other people who are super ADHD. The problem was he was telling himself every day. So he would get up and he would do his affirmations. And tomorrow during the session, we're going to talk about why affirmations aren't so effective for people. But he would get up and he'd go, I am focused. I pay attention to detail. He would
Mhm.
say these affirmations. And then he was doing like 10 sales calls a day, right? And he'd be like, I'm sorry, I have ADHD. Oh, I'm sorry, blue squirrel moment. Oh, I'm so easily distracted. And he was like, affirmations are bullshit because they're like not working. And I'm like, well, they're not really going to have an opportunity to work If once a day you're telling your brain that you're focused and blah, 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 and then 10 to 20 times a day, you're talking about how easily distracted you are, etc. So, the ADD might be an identity for us to let go
Mhm.
of, right?
Totally. Totally.
Um,
And I've noticed in your posts at least, and then I'm even looking at school here, the nervous system reset. And like, I think that being able to regulate more effectively and get into that purpose and passion and like that zone, right?
yeah,
Um, I guess I don't really bring it up to other people, but it is the absolutely. It's that noise in my head of like, oh, excuse me, fuck, there's another half an hour or there's another afternoon that I've done nothing. And, I'm rebuilding my life, which I know a lot of entrepreneurs do after an extended period of time, but it just kind of chips away at rebuilding. So absolutely, I need to let go of that and find better tools to, I feel like, regulate and kind of let it be what it will be and work in my zone of genius more often.
yeah. So that's the second thing I was going to say is I don't know the stats for Canada as much, but I know in the US that ADD, ADHD is 20% misprescribed, right? We're going to talk a lot more about the nervous system on Wednesday and about stress addiction. And so a lot of people, this is their like protection mechanism, right? It's how their nervous system stops them from going into a place that's unsafe. We also know that we've had clients who are 100% definitely on the neurodivergent ADD, ADHD spectrum. And once they regulate their nervous system, it feels less overwhelming. There's less static and noise and whatnot for them to go through. So you may have, I'm not sure if you had jumped on yet when I was saying this to Dusty, but our nervous system is really like this container, right?
Okay.
And when we've got old trauma and we've got all this old stuff in here, that's taking up space, which means we have less space to process other stuff, right? And then we'll have daily habits like always needing background noise. That's going to take up a little space, right? So the more that this is full, the less regulated we are, and then the less capacity we have. And when this is full, our nervous system is in survival mode. So when we're in survival mode, we feel like the bear or the lion is chasing us. Well, if the bear or the lion is chasing me, that's not the time to be focused to sit down and write emails to send out to my list or to brainstorm content to put out on social media, blah, 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 blah. Right. So regulating, even if you just regulated, you just did the 7-day nervous system reset exercises, that's going to give you some space back. Right. And then you'll get the 3-month access to the all access pass, and I'll make sure it's unlocked for you if Sid hasn't already, is that that's going to start to free up other space so that there is less of that. And I'm not saying that the ADD is totally going to be gone, but it's
But
going to give you more space back that you can manage the symptoms better without medication, without the beating yourself up, without the old patterns.
totally down for that. Yeah, because I have the sweet spot, but the ways that I know how to get there when I'm really struggling, when that's really full, I don't want to be on Vyvanse for the rest of my life. Or I've recently, which is like, I can't even believe I tricked myself into thinking Alani was better than Monster. No, it's the same shit, Aaron. Like, so I just took myself off over the last week, and thank you for, your follow-up. I know I've messaged with you a couple of times, and I definitely was a snooper in school because I sign up for things that I know I should do, and then it's just been, yeah, that's so full. So thank you, Tiffany. That's amazing.
And
My
Aaron,
pleasure.
you don't have to answer this, but did you say you were on medication for ADD? Like I used to be on medication for ADD. That's why I asked.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Finance. Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't have to say anything else. I was on Prozac, Ritalin, and what was the third one? Another one that really sucked, Adderall. And so
Right.
they put me on that way too young.
Right.
And I was on it for most of my life. Now, working with Tiffany did some hypnosis with me that helped me get rid of my medication entirely. But one thing that I realized was, I don't know about you, but I know when I went through taking my medication, one of the biggest downfalls that I recognized when I was on my medication was that it would numb my emotions. I actually felt less human when I was on the medication because I couldn't control my emotions because I would feel like I was mad, but I didn't feel anything, or I would feel like I was stressed, but I didn't feel anything, or I'd feel like I should be happy, but I didn't feel anything. And it was just this like really weird like bubble that I was constantly in. And I kept telling Tiffany, like, I feel like I'm dying. Like this is super weird. And I think with the nervous system, what Tiffany kind of taught me and like what I went through that, that might be a little logical. At least I always come at this from more like layman's and logic terms, mainly as a male one, but also too as someone who just went through it. Whereas Tiffany's kind of the long story with people that we work with is I used to think Tiffany was a witch when I first met her. And one thing that really, really hit me hard was understanding that when you start working with your nervous system, so your nervous system is tied directly to your brain, and your brain is tied to your emotions. So when we do the nervous system work, and she'll go over it on Wednesday, but you can also go and check out the nervous system reset exercises. And then step one inside the All Access Pass is all about nervous system regulation. When you get into a routine and you begin to regulate your nervous system like consistently, you take back control of your emotions. And then our emotions are then tied to our beliefs, and our beliefs are tied to our actions. Our actions are tied to our decisions, and so on and so forth. But it all roots back to our brain, and our brain is controlled by our nervous system. So when we can take charge of our nervous system and then in essence begin to control our emotions, we can start to then take back control of everything else in our life, because that's where everything roots back to.
Thank you, Sid. Yeah, that resonates so much. And I feel that piece about the emotions as well. And then I get the crash when the medication stops working. And then I almost feel it. That's when I feel it almost more. So that makes tons of sense. I just
Yeah,
started.
and just to let you know, like I get it. Like someone who used to take medication, I totally get it. So, like you're in a safe space here, and I want you to know that, what we're helping you with is something that can help you feel more things again. As that's what it helped me. That was my number one thing with Tiff, was like, I can't feel anything. My medication is taking my life away. And doing this helped me feel like I got a piece of my life back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate you jumping in with that. It's very timely for me. Thank you.
Oh yeah, of course. And again, I know this is like, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm just doing my best to give you like my personal experience as someone who used to be on medication, for what was classified as ADHD. And just to let you know, I haven't been on medication now for a couple of years, thanks to Tiff.
And I will say they also tried to diagnose him as bipolar at one point as well.
When I went to them about the challenges I was having, they just told me that I was screwed up even more. So,
that's what they also tried, with me on the diagnosis. And then, it's crazy. I shouldn't say crazy. That's not the right term, but it's just so interesting, the mainstream medical systems. And also like with those medications, I was later diagnosed, and they don't even study them in women. So then there's also the hormonal stuff that goes with it, and like the drug companies don't even study it in women. So that's the other piece. But thank you so much. And
yeah, I mean, I learned that drug companies are businesses and they're there to make money, and their job is to keep people on medication. And I don't want to say I'm against doctors. They're, they're good for surgery. But like my personal opinion, and again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not Tiffany, but my personal opinion is that us humans lived on this earth not being diagnosed with ADHD for thousands of years, and got by just fine. And it wasn't until the 80s and the 90s when they started saying that all these people had ADHD and putting them on meds. So, that really kind of, I was diagnosed when I was like 7.
wow.
And they got me on medications when I was like that age as well. So, the good news is at least in my experience doing this work, it helped me get back control of, like Tiffany said, like I literally used to be on 8 to 10 sales calls a day, and it was like part of my script to get people to laugh. Is I'd be like, oh yeah, instead of blue squirrel moment, but all I was doing was reinforcing myself that I had ADHD. And a
Right.
lot of my challenge that I found was that I've been told I had ADHD all my life, that I started to actually believe it. And when I flipped the script and I was like, I don't have ADHD, and then I worked with Tiff on this, like I realized I didn't have ADHD. I was just super focused on things that I cared about, and I was very unfocused on things I didn't care about. And they thought I had ADHD because in school I knew it was BS, and so I didn't
Hmm.
care about it. And they just said, "Oh, he's not in line. He's not standing in a single file line. He has ADHD." But that just wasn't the case for me. I just was me personally believe I personally believe I was misdiagnosed.
I agree. Yeah. Wow.
That's
Thank
all.
you for sharing that. That's super
Absolutely.
powerful.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That's what we're here for. So if you need any help with anything, you just let us know.
Amazing. I definitely will. This has been a great start and I'm really pumped to keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I
Cool.
will say, while we generally look to avoid like anything external,
Mm.
um, when we do have clients that need support, like in the moment, because during certain seasons of life, you might need support. The one thing that we do look at first is microdosing psilocybin, so microdosing magic mushrooms. And if anybody is interested in that, I can connect you. I personally had a really rough postpartum phase after my son was born, where my anxiety and my rage was like through the roof. My anxiety was so debilitating. I couldn't carry my son up a set of stairs because I kept having these super vivid mental videos of like him like jerking in my arms and me dropping him and like him falling down the stairs or falling over the edge of the banister. So I like anything like that. I just couldn't, like, it was debilitating, these visuals that I was getting in my brain. And so um I started microdosing psilocybin. It's not enough to get you high. Like you're not going to hallucinate,
Yeah.
nothing like that. It's 0.05 grams. Um, but what the best way I can describe it is it just feels like that release of the pressure. So it's like I can
Mhm.
breathe. I really struggled to focus on anything after my son was born. Like just that mental noise in my head got so loud, so much static, like I couldn't focus in on anything, and that started to allow me to be able to focus again, get productive. So if we do have clients who need some support, we typically recommend like a 12-week protocol that we do, and then
Mhm.
after that you could, like, we have some in the cupboard, and if I'm going through a season, or like I know that the day is going to be busy and I need some support because I didn't get great sleep last night, then I can take one. But we initially do like a 12-week protocol,
Mhm.
and then 12 weeks off. But we also know, and what I'm excited about is that there's going to be more studies about this coming out, but that we do know that it actually heals the brain, right? So any we know that trauma wounds the brain, and so it helps to heal it. And so, it's like Neosporin for the brain. So
So
yeah,
cool.
and Dusty, obviously it's a family decision that you have to make. If I was to microdose, if I'm not today, but if I was, you wouldn't have known it. Like Dusty, I know that you've been on calls where I've microdosed before. Um, yeah, so I can understand his reasoning for not having it in the house, and maybe it's a case of he doesn't know where it is or whatever, but or you keep such small amounts that he wouldn't be able to have that. But yeah, it was a game changer for me during postpartum for sure. So
Thank you.
my pleasure.
Mhm.
All right, Sam, anything else I can do to support you?
I am good. I'm sorry I had to leave, but I wanted to pop back in. I'm glad to see Carrie here. Um, Carrie, are you able to chat? All right, very good. I wanted to see you. Yeah, very good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for showing up for you. And you're going to be in good hands with Tiffany, even if I'm not here. Yep. All
We're
right.
we're bonding over being Canadian, so
Oh, oh yeah. How you do it? How do you do it?
A.
What, hey, that's the
yeah,
word.
eh?
Thank you. I'm like, howdy, y'all. I'm in Texas.
So
It's okay. We're in
Awesome.
cow country where we're from too, though.
I always described Alberta as the Texas of Canada. It's always how I explained it to people when I would travel.
I'm explaining it like that much more in light of current events, but that's for another time.
Yes.
But
We live across the street from a farm, and there's like 25 cows literally right across the street outside of our back patio.
that is so cool.
We see
You know, we get
deer
our
running
eggs from
through
down the
our
street,
we
and
see
we buy
deers running
cows
through
from down the
our
street
RV
too.
park all the time. Well, not all the time, but sometimes. So have
That's
fun.
awesome.
It's nice here.
Wouldn't have it any other way. It's the best place to live, in our opinion. Sam is in the country with all the cows.
Yeah.
I like the trees.
Trees too. Yes, I love the trees. Trees are great.
Tree.
You know,
All right. Well,
I
very good. Thank
basically
you,
live in a right
Tiffany.
here.
My pleasure. Awesome. Welcome, Heaven. This session's related to the Procrastination to Profit Challenge, but anything I know you've done it before, anything I can do to support you, Heaven?
No, I am just checking this out, getting back into the swing of things since I have sort of not been doing things regularly because I've been busy. But
Okay.
I basically am just continuing with the various goals that I've set for the month, like clear my space, get things organized, continue moving forward on the projects that I'm doing. That's it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so if you remember the challenge that you did with us back in October, I think it was October, November.
Mhm.
We're doing that again this week. So if you want to jump in or you have time to join us in any of those spaces, you are welcome to.
Thank you. Is that what this is today?
Yeah, that's what this one is.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. I just wanted to see what it was. Thank you.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right. Well, that's it. Unless anybody else needs any support anywhere.
And I will get these replays up in about 2 hours, and they'll both be ready to go.
I have a question, Tiffany. You
Yes,
talked
go ahead.
about hypnosis.
Yes.
So my doctors tell me that I have epilepsy. I hate to own it, but I do take the medication because it's the only way I have been able to work at getting my driver's license back after 5 years.
Okay.
Am I able to participate in that, or is that something that I need to back out of doing because of the possibility of getting stuck on it or something?
So the form of hypnosis that I do is like a deep meditation or a deep
Okay.
visualization. So do you have any challenges with meditating or with visualizing?
None. No.
Okay. You should be okay then.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've done some of them with Tiffany and you'll be fine. It's a good question.
Yeah. And good for me.
AKA why I thought she was a witch when I first met her.
So,
No, but they're great. It was like Tiff said, to someone who didn't know anything about it, who came into it, you get into basically a relaxed state that helps you move, that helps the blocks that are in front of you that are emotionally tied to you. It helps you basically navigate around those so that you can actually heal what needs to be healed in regards to the memory or the blocks. So like the hypnosis might be around guilt and shame. You might have a specific block that's in front of that has emotion tied to it. These hypnosis helps you navigate around that so that you can actually heal the thing that's causing the guilt and shame.
yeah.
Okay.
So, cool. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, if there is no other questions, we'll wrap up for today. So I will hop on for 15 minutes at 3:30 Eastern tomorrow, just to answer any questions. Then we'll go into the challenge link, the main challenge link. Then we'll come back here for VIP. Okay. Beautiful. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.